Good morning, fellow fantasy football freaks. Yeah, of course, the second I start up the show is when everything starts glitching out. It was like everything was doing really great this morning, setting up. Actually, well, Facebook was being really, really weird about like me posting my link and stuff like that. But I got that figured out. But then like everything else was going pretty smooth. But then of course, the second I start up my show, then all of a sudden everything is now going all cattywampus. Let me know if there's any audio problems. I can see there's video problems. I can see there's a lot of glitching out and stuff, but that'll pass. That'll pass. I just need a new computer. Maybe Santa will bring me one for Christmas or my birthday. Someone, next week is my birthday. I'm not sure exactly if I'm doing a birthday show, but I'll keep you posted on that. So I know I'm definitely doing one next year, but this year, I don't know. Try to get a lot of guests when I can't get my show up to thousands and millions of people like it was the first couple years. But anyway, we're gonna wait for people to kind of pile in here while we're also waiting for the video to catch up with the audio here. I know it's all messed up. Getting weird little snapshots of me, which is funny. It's like pause faces. You ever you're watching like Netflix or whatever, some streaming service, whatever the fuck you're watching on TV, and you go to pause it like you got to take a piss or something, and you go to pause the damn thing, and then you get like the funniest face or something. Call it a pause face, whatever. You're just getting a collection of pause faces right now. It's great. Anyway, it's starting to catch up. It's kind of weird. All right, I think we're getting a little smoothed out here, so. Welcome, everyone, to the Tinker Stinker Power Hour. This is a question and answer only edition, which basically means I'm giving you all my attention. You don't have to worry about my, takes on this and that that aren't relevant to your team. We're just doing a Q&A version this week, so, kind of relaxed a little bit. I'm back on the field, the battlefield, because here we go. It's like this week and next week are the two big weeks to make sure that you get into this is the playoff push. We're there. You've made it. If you're here, if you're needing advice, if you're trying to get into the playoffs, or maybe you're already in the playoffs and you're trying to improve your seeding, this is the week. This is it. This is why I'm here for you. This week and next week, for sure, to the biggest, most important weeks of the fantasy season. So let's get things started off. Right. Paul, what's up? And we're going to get to the questions here in just a second. I want to do my usual morning stuff. You let people kind of come in and get their shit going. Good morning. Hashtag TyRant Gang. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I knew I should play JMO Thursday. Damn it. Hey, all right. Let's be fair here, okay? I can't predict injuries. Of course, the second St. Brown went down. Well, there goes my JMO bench prediction. Of course he went off because there was no Amon Ra there. You can't blame me for that. I had no idea. I still maintain that if Amon Ra, because when Amon Ra was in there, it's like, and yeah, granted, it was a very short amount of time. He was getting targets, but then he was out before he even got a catch. So yeah, I know it looks bad. Thanks for rubbing it in, Nick. No, I know that wasn't why you were doing it. I did end up playing JMO in some leagues where I was like, well, I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I was pretty happy that he got the production he did. Not happy that Amon Ra got injured, of course, because I don't like to celebrate injuries. Not one of those people. Like, I know people like that. I have friends like that. I'm like, dude, don't celebrate that. So, we don't. They got like friends, family, and people that are worried about them, like their career and shit, just because like, it helps out your fantasy team a little bit this week. Like, who cares, man? Let's not go there with it. But anyway, good morning to you, Nick. Glad that you, hopefully, even without playing him, you're still in good position to get a win this week because this is the week to do it. You gotta get those wins in there. All right. So before we get started with your questions, because this is a question and answer only edition, and there's we don't have a lot of people pile in at this moment. But what I've been noticing recently is that people just start fucking piling in about 10 minutes before we're about to go, which is that's fine. We can do it all at the end. I'm gonna let some people come in, let the questions pile up here a little bit, just so that we have a show. So this week we're lighting up 9-pound hammer. So my guess is that it's the 9-pound hammer that drives in the 9-inch nails, right? Anyway, that was a stupid joke. But here we go. 9-pound hammer, lighten it up. Stop. Hammer time. No, anyway. All right. So, yeah, it's pretty good shit. Get your questions down in there, and I will answer them here in just a minute. We're going to do the morning pour. Oh, hey, by the way, I hope everybody had a really good Thanksgiving. Hopefully, if you did overeat, which you should, because that's the one day at least that you should. Hopefully it wasn't too much. But anyway, or whatever kind of consumption you did for Thanksgiving. I hope it wasn't overboard. I hope you had a good time. I hope, there weren't family fights or some shit. Or if they were, let me know. Let me know what your family fights were about. It's kind of interesting. We could talk about that if we have to fill time. We'll talk about, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'll be a counselor if I have to. I apologize for the shitty video at this point, which is probably why people are coming in and going, oh, fuck, the video sucks. I'm out of here. So, thanks a lot to StreamYard for being a piece of shit service, for Ziply for being cheap and friendly and cooperative, but overall not good service. All right. That's enough complaining about that. This week we're sticking with the Slayer. Hey, it's after Thanksgiving now, Christmas stuff. It's okay. Slayer, yeah. Holiday beers. Welcome those of you popping in. Get your questions down there in the comments. We're going to start answering those in just a second. We got a Q&A only edition of the show. So we're going to be paying attention to your questions and what it's going to take to help you crush your league. And even if you have like other questions that aren't necessarily start or sit, maybe advice for the playoffs coming up. If you have things like, hey, I can see that so and so's on the waivers. Should I go after them? Should I pick them up or whatever? I'll cover that too. So anyway, get your questions up in there. We're gonna do the morning pour here. Yeah. Breakfast action, breakfast beer action. Here we go. It's not a bad pour, is it? That's not bad. It's pretty good. Ninkasi Slayer, good shit. So, hey, here we go. Week 13. For some reason, the greens, this fucking thing thinks my arm is part green. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? Maybe I'm an alien. Probably am. All right. That would explain a lot of things. So anyway, here's to week 13 and the playoff push. All right. That's good shit. All right. So now that all the pussies who can't handle me drinking a beer on the air, smoking a J, are out of here, let's get to the real people who have actual questions. Paul. Good morning, Paul. Jackson thought over Stafford this weekend. I'm a big fan of Dart, of course. Dude's when he's been playing, he's been on fire. He's kind of cocky and thought, oh, I'll just, I'll take this scrambling business to the NFL and no one's going to get, shit happens, bro. But he's over it. He's through the concussion, past concussion protocol. It's not like something, some soft tissue injury that, we're going to be worried about. Like, it's going to be a setback. No, he's good to go. So, I think that when you look at his stats, I mean, come on. The dude's been on fire this season. Excuse me. More games than not, he's like, 20-plus points. So it's hard to start him. It doesn't matter, like, matchup. If you look at the matchups, like, okay, so his one of his worst matchups of the season, of course, was against the Denver Broncos, who we know is, pretty vaunted at this point. They've been fucking good. But Yeah, dude ripped them off for, what was it, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He ran in a touchdown. Dude had his best game of the season against perhaps the best defense he's faced. So I'm not really worried about the matchup against New England. They're a pretty good defense, but they're not as good as Denver. Not as good as the Chargers either, who earlier in the season, in his first game starting, he scored 19.84 fantasy points. That's pretty good for a start against a team like that. So I'm not worried about the matchup. I'm not worried about the injury. Stafford, it's kind of matchup based, and even then, it's not always great. But as long as everyone's healthy, he's usually doing pretty well. Like, okay, so out of the past 4 out of the past 5 weeks, he's scoring over 22 fantasy points. And I mean, you can't hate on that for sure. Again, in week 11 against Seattle, he had kind of a bad week. But for the most part, it's been easy going for him. He's got Carolina. It's, another game. So honestly, you're looking at 20 to 25 points from either one. It's really a coin flip. If I have to, gun to my head, pick one or the other, I think I'm probably picking Dart just because, or not Dart, I'm sorry, Stafford, just because I think that Dart, even though, like I said, it's, it's not a big injury. I'm not really worried about him, but it's Monday night on the road against New England. And it's, a little bit, I mean, the Stafford's matchup is better, a little bit at least. So, like I said, it's a coin flip. You really could go either way. I don't think you could go wrong here. So in that case, I'm going to go with the safer pick in Stafford, just because, Dart's coming back. I don't think he's going to have too much rust, but, maybe he has to re-gel with the offense. I don't know. It's really like I said, you're looking at 20 to 25 fantasy points from either. But I'm going to give the slightest of leans toward Matthew Stafford. Great question, though, Paul. All right, we did that. Alejandro, good morning, sir. Would you start Bucky or Vidal, PPR? Here's the thing. Bucky's healthy. I know that there's all this talk like, well, like the OC was saying, there's rumors that the OC was saying that, oh, yeah, we might be holding him back. I don't buy it. I mean, if he's healthy, he's the best running back they got on that team. Period. I don't care what Sean Tucker's been doing. I like Sean Tucker, and but he's going to be paying, mostly handling, kick returns and shit. So I'm really, yeah. I'm not. I can't start even on weeks where Vidal should be doing all right. He's fine. But Bucky's healthy. Fire him up. I ain't worried. Unless we hear something this morning that he's definitely going to be on a pitch count or something like that, which even then I'm like, okay, yeah, right. We'll see. But we haven't heard the word pitch count. It's been like, well, his carries, he could get a smaller workload like Godwin, blah, 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 blah. I don't believe in that. I think that's a lot of leaked coach speak, meant to fuck with people, the other team and shit. So personally, I feel like we're firing up Bucky this week. You know how many times they've done that where like the coach is like, oh, we're gonna monitor. Okay, so here's what the actual coach fucking said. For those of you who are like, well, this. So here's what was actually said. I mean, the OC did say something about it, but the most recent thing is they're gonna go hot hand. Okay, we're gonna go hot hand. Who's got the hot hand? It's Bucky fucking Irving. That's who's got the hot hand. We know that's going to happen. Let's fire him up this week, Alejandro. Yeah, love him over Vidal. Start Bucky with limited snap count. There's not going to be a limited snap count. Where does it say limited snap count? Show me that. Because from what I'm hearing is they're going hot hand. So I don't see a reason not to start Bucky Irving. I can't imagine. Like I said, it's not a soft tissue. This is what I was saying on Thursday. It's not a soft tissue injury. So it's not something we got to worry about, like, re-aggravating, because it's a shoulder thing. Drop major. Hold on. There's a little something about Todd Bowles saying something. Okay, hold on. Reading an update here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. From what I'm seeing here, we'll put him in. Once he's in, we'll see how he's rolling, and then between him, White, and Sean Tucker, we'll go with the hot hand. That's it. That's all I'm hearing. I don't see anything that says the words limited snap. And this is from Todd Bowles. I don't give a shit about what some beat reporter says. I don't give a shit what the OC says. The head coach is saying, we're going to go hot hand. Bucky Irving's got a hot hand. There's no risk of re-injury here. Everything's fine. They've held him out extra time to make sure. There's no reason to be afraid of it at this point. If he ends up not doing well, or they actually do hold him back, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm going by what I'm hearing. I'm going by, what I'm translating the actual coach speak here. When I hear the word hot hand and I see Bucky Irving in there, I don't worry because that's the hot hand. So yeah, I'm firing up Bucky this week. All right, Chris, Cody must win for playoffs. Flex Sean Tucker, Thornton, or Godwin, unless I don't know. I mean, okay, so if you're in a league where it's not you don't get yardage or whatever for kick returns, I'm probably not starting Sean Tucker. Now, Godwin, on the other hand, he could really be limited this week, and I'm kind of worried about that. But then again, Tootin, it all just depends on what ETN does. Again, that's almost kind of like a hot hand thing they got going on there as well. Tennessee is very vulnerable against running backs. But I mean, look at what he did last week. 7 touches, 7 carries for 17 yards. 1 target, no catches. Week before that, he had 15 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. It's just, it's kind of like the same thing, hot hand. I think ETN's going to be fine in this game. I don't want to start Tootin. So really, are those really your only options this week? Those 3? Because if so, it's going to be tough sledding. But obviously, we got to pick one. So, excuse me. Everyone's trying to play through these fibula injuries here. So they're saying that Godwin's expected more snaps this week. He had 30% of the snaps last week or something like that, and he only scored 2.9 fantasy points. So yeah, it's definitely risky, but it's so as these other guys, because really with Sean Tucker and with Tootin, it's basically like, well, if the guy in front of them is not the hot hand, they might get a shot. But I think the guy in front of both of them is going to be the hot hand this week. So I guess I'm going to go Godwin. I'm guessing that's PPR, so there you go. So it's not I don't feel 100% confident about it, but gun to my head, I guess I'm going Godwin on this one. Just because I don't think that Sean Tucker or Tootin are going to get as much attention as as long as they're the guy in front of them is. In the case of Sean Tucker, we're talking about Bucky. In the case of Tootin, we're talking about ETN. I think those guys, it's a hot hand. They're both similar in that way. I think the hot hands are the guys in front of them this week. So I got to by process of elimination, basically, and by the fact that we're hearing that Godwin's going to get a higher snap percentage this week than he did last week. They're easing him back in, but I think this game, I think he could be unleashed a little bit. I think it's good for that team to have Bucky Irving back in there. That's going to open some things up. So give me good old Godwin this week, right? There we go. Hopefully, good luck on the win there, Chris. Neil over Ken, Walker, or Pearsall. I think Devin Neal's fine this week. People were talking about it. I don't understand because they're like, well, we're worried. Is it just because the team sucks? Maybe the team's not doing great right now. Miami's defense is so-so. It's fine, but it's really not that great against the run. I really think this week Devin Neal could have a good week. He's clear to start. He doesn't have any, issues. Alvin Kamara, of course, is out. So, no, he's not going to get every down because, they're going to put Taysom Hill in there. Taysom Hill might snipe a touchdown from him, vulture a touchdown. But, I really like Devin Neal's matchup. As far as Walker goes, he's been a little bit better as of late, just because of the nature of them giving him more touches. Well, he kind of all together. I mean, okay, so in week 11, he had 16 touches, which was tied for his third highest touch total of the season, but best since the bye. And then he went back to 11 touches last week. Still was able to produce really well with that. I think you're looking at probably about 15 or so fantasy points from him this week. And then from Neal, probably about the same. So Neal's got the better matchup of the two of them. But I think that overall Walker's the better player. So Holani's going to be out. So that's kind of interesting. They're going to be running the ball a lot because I think with Max Bozeman leading the Vikings, it's going to be much worse than JJ. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that Kenneth Walker could have a pretty good week this week. So that's a good problem to have. I like both those players, but I'm going Walker. Pearsall, I want to wait and see. I'm a big fan of Pearsall, and I think that he's eventually going to be like the top guy for the Niners as far as wide receivers go. That he's going to be a guy who we're going to count on week after week as at least a wide receiver too. He was injured for a bit. He's come back in. He's making his way back into the lineup. So I'm going to wait and see on Pearsall. And if I have to choose between Walker and Neal, I'm going to give the slight edge to Kenneth Walker there. Another great question, Paul. You got some good ones this week. I'm starting Waddle, McConkey over Metcalf, Oliver. Thoughts? Yeah. I'm guessing Oliver is Olave. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you corrected it. I definitely like Waddle. 100% I like Waddle in there. The question really for me is of those other three, McConkey, Metcalf, and Olave. I love me some Chris Olave. I was big on him coming into the season. Well, I wouldn't say big, but I was bigger than a lot of the other analysts. And I was like, I don't know why they had him drop it off so much. Like, even with Tyler Shook in there, dude's been producing. So, he had 5 receptions for 104 yards and a touchdown week 10. Then they had a bye. Last week, dude had 13 targets. It tied for his highest target share of the season and had his second biggest day with, receptions at 9 receptions and then 70 yards. So he's getting the work in there. He definitely is. It's not that great of a matchup against Miami, but I think in this case, it's going to be a lot closer. I think they're going to need to probably produce on offense, and Olave could be a big part of that. So I'm actually not really down on Olave. And then you had McConkey. So for me, and then the problem with DK, we'll get to that in a second. McConkey's matchup is great. Love it against his, division rival. Good matchup there. If we look back, though, in week 2 against Vegas, he didn't do all that great. Dude's been kind of up and down, back and forth. So it's just been inconsistent. Could he do great in this game? Yeah, absolutely he could. But Gadsden's back in there. They're fairly healthy. You got Johnston in there. Allen, it's just a lot of mouths to feed there. Olave is kind of like the only real game in town as far as wide receivers go. Of course, he's throwing to DeJuan Johnson as well. And then you got Devin Neal coming up in the back. But that's it. So I like Olave over McConkey this week. just to start off with, just because I can't trust McConkey. Could he have a big week? Yeah, any week. McConkey can have a big week. We just don't know when that is. And there's no reason to think that's going to be this week over any other week, just because they're facing the Raiders. Because you look early in the season against the Raiders, he didn't do much. But things are, I don't know. I really feel like he's got even more to compete with than he did then. So I'm not confident in starting McConkey this week. I think McConkey's great. I think that he's going to have weeks where it's going to be big. It's just hard to predict what it is. And if you have other options, and you're loaded there. I like your wide receiver core there. It's pretty good. Now let's take a look at Metcalf real quick versus Buffalo. So it hasn't been consistent enough for Metcalf just because the play there in general hasn't been consistent enough. I don't see too much difference. I mean, when Aaron Rodgers in, he does a little bit better. It's going to be, hit and miss with him. Honestly, I want to go safe, and I want to go with Olave this week over McConkey. Waddle, keep him in there. He's pretty much all they got. Now, I do realize that Waller's back this week, but I don't think that's going to take too much away from Jalen Waddle. He had kind of a dud in week 11, but then we're coming off a bye. He's ready to go. He's fired up. He's had a few duds this year, but I don't think this is going to be it. I think this week it's, good enough matchup for him. I like him this week. So, yeah, we're going Waddle, and we're going Olivier. Olave. All right. Another good question, Paul. Good morning, says Rich. What's up, Mr. Ibarra? Bucky or RJ in standard? I love Harvey's matchup this week. If you have any concerns about Bucky and the how many carries he's going to get, I don't think it's that much of a concern, but I actually do like Harvey a little bit over Bucky just because, who knows? I'm pretty sure it's just coach speak, but honestly, between Harvey's got such a great matchup this week. He's the guy. There's no J.K. Dobbins. Let's roll with Harvey this week. Alejandro, McConkey or Pierce or Samuel or Vidal? DPR flex spot. Let's see. Let's take a look here. I was just saying with McConkey, he's kind of hit and miss. Samuel, it's been interesting. The matchup's not that great, but that hasn't really mattered for him so much as your conventional wide receiver. Now we've got Terry McLaurin back in there, and he's going to be getting the attention from the defense, and Deebo Samuel could be really sneaky. He could definitely be really, really sneaky in this game. But with him, it's kind of a different version of Lad McConkey, where it's so hit and miss and this and that. He'll have his great games, he'll have his shit games. It's not exactly easy to predict. So if you need the home run, go with Samuel, I'd say. But let's take a look at the safer options here. And between the two, if I'm going between McConkey and Deebo, I think I'm going to start Deebo. Vidal, it's been back and forth. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm looking at this here. Good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, bye. Now, does the bye week fuck that up? We don't know. Marion Hampton's not back yet. I think Vidal could have a pretty decent game in this one. If I'm going safe, I'm going with Vidal because all the other three guys are kind of hit and miss, right? It's just because of wide receiver. That's kind of typical-ish of wide receiver where it's, more hit and miss than in the other positions. But with these guys in particular, it is much more. If I'm going safe, I'm going Vidal. If I'm going for the home run, I go Deebo Samuel. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. Richard, Jacksonville D versus Tennessee or Niners D versus the Browns. I love Jacksonville versus Tennessee, Niners D versus the Browns. Both of them are good options. Both of them are defenses that they're definitely matchup based. If I have to choose between one of the two of them, I'm probably going with the Jacksonville D's because Tennessee's so banged up. So that's my shot there. If the Chargers D is out there, get them, obviously. If they're not, yeah, Jacksonville's actually a pretty good option. I had to pick them up in some leagues. When I'm making that decision, I'm choosing Jacksonville. So there you go. But I do have some leagues where I'm starting the 49ers D as well because I think they're a good option this week. Scott, good morning, sir. Who starts? PPR, Rico, Bucky, Devin Neal, or Jaden Higgins? Well, Higgins is an interesting prospect. I think that eventually he's going to be the clear-cut number 2 wide receiver there. But Christian Kirk's been getting in there, getting his, last week he had the touchdown, Higgins did. But look at that. It's kind of back and forth too. Good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game. So that dictates he'd have a bad game here. But you can't really go by that. I'm not really seriously doing that, folks. I'm just saying it's interesting that that's been the pattern. That's not the reason why this and that and the other. Rico, it's not a great matchup. Rams are one of the best teams against running backs. But look at what he did against Green Bay. 25 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. So really, against these good, defenses, I'm not all that worried about it. Because since he took off against Miami, he's only really had one dud game. Last week, maybe you could consider that a dud game. San Francisco games are weird. Rams games, like I said, it's not a great matchup, but he has been a pretty solid player. Bucky Irving, it's the hot hand situation. Devin Neal, yeah. So for me, really, it's between Rico Dowdle and Bucky Irving. So if you're buying the narrative of like, oh well, Bucky might be held back a little bit today, then go with Rico. But for me, Bucky Irving's in there. I'm firing him up. It's a good matchup. I got to go Bucky. Baker or Darnold? I'm always going Baker over Darnold. I don't know. Unless the matchup's absolutely terrible for one and great for the. In the case of it, it's terrible for Baker, absolutely horrendous versus Sam Darnold having like a dream matchup. That's the only reason I'm going Darnold. I just think that, like I said earlier, the Seattle running game is going to be able to take care of Minnesota with Bozeman at the helm. So I'm really not buying into Sam Darnold this week. Let's pull up see Baker versus Arizona. Yeah. We've been down in the game last week, so we can't really look at that as far as stats. That was an outlier in week 8 at the bye. He's way over 20. Yeah. Just for the safe side, I'm going Baker Mayfield. If you feel like for some reason that you need to have this home run thing going on, maybe you go Darnold. I still probably lean Baker. So yeah, I'm going Baker really either way, Rich. Thanks for the question, Scott. Good morning, sir. Once again, I was just talking to you. Okay, sorry. Greg Dortch or John Mechie. Here's the thing: Marvin Harrison is back this week. That means Dortch kind of moves a little bit back in the mix. I like John Mechie because he's kind of the main guy right now, while Garrett Wilson is nursing that injury. So I like John Mechie against Atlanta this week. I'm not worried about the matchup. They're going to need to throw the ball. I've been a Mechie apologist since he came to the league. I've been all over this guy. I've been telling you guys eventually he's going to hit. I thought maybe he would on Houston, but I was eventually this dude is going to be a thing. And now, who would have thought that it happened in fucking New York? So as long as Garrett Wilson's out, I don't see why we don't start Mechie. He's got 2 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks that he's been the guy. Had 3 receptions on 3 targets that first week there in week 11, and you're like, okay, whatever. That's a fluke thing. He gets a touchdown. But then the next week, his targets more than doubled, and he doubled his production basically in terms of receptions at least. And there you go, 6 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. So I'm going Mechie this week, just mainly because Marvin Harrison being back kind of pushes Dortch back a little bit, but also because Mechie's been, the top option right now for the Jets. Who would you drop between Tyjae Spears and Rashid Shaheed? PPR redraft. Here's the thing. I like Spears. I think that if the Titans were to just make that switch over to Spears being the top running back, I think they'd be a little bit better off. Personally, the thing with Shaheed is, let me pull up something here. First of all, like I said, I think that the Seahawks are going to be running the ball a lot more this week, and than they are going to be throwing it. So I'm not really up on them. Since he's been in Seattle, he hasn't done shit. That's the thing is that he was great, in for the Saints, but I mean he's playing behind, of course, JSN. Whatever, they got the two running backs going on. Plus, you also have Barner in there. It's just and then sorry, I'm blanking. Give me a second. I'll catch up. What is it? Sorry. Having a brain fart. Give me a minute. We'll pull something up real quick. Cooper Kupp. I don't know why my brain did not go there. Yeah, I mean, he's the third option, maybe the fourth option, maybe the fifth option, honestly. Sixth, hell, behind Walker and Charms. Yeah, I think you can drop Shaheed 100%. I think I want to keep Spears in case they decide to swap him out. They know that they're losing later in the season, so they're like, fuck it, let's see what Spears can do, and they put him in there. It's a fine stash for that reason. So if I'm dropping one, it's definitely Shaheed. Gadsden or Otten. I'm going Gadsden this week. Like I said, Godwin's coming back, Bucky Irving's back in there. I just don't think Otten's going to see as much. So give me Gadsden. As long as Gadsden's playing, he's probably playing for my team, unless I have him as a backup to one of the big guys like Kittle and McBride, which is the only times when I'm sitting him in leagues that I have him, are if I have him as a backup to McBride, Kittle, and maybe even Powers, right? You can put him in there. So yeah, definitely Gadsden. Flex spot, Ben. Good morning, sir. Bucky Irving, Marvin Harrison, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren. It's a good bunch there. So you got to flex one of those guys. Okay. Marvin Harrison, I do like, but he's coming back in, to after his appendicitis. I'm not worried about that being an issue. More or less, he's making his way back in first weekend. They've been having some success throwing to the likes of Wilson and Dortch. Dortch kind of takes a back seat to Harrison. I think we're going to see a mix of Harrison and Wilson, and then of course McBride is really the main event there. So it's kind of iffy. Of the guys coming back, I'm probably going Bucky Irving over Marvin Harrison. So far, okay, that's that. So now you're looking Bucky Irving versus Kenneth Walker and Jalen Warren. Now I just talked about Bucky and Kenneth Walker. It's a really good matchup for Jalen Warren. That's not necessarily going to matter too much, but I can't get away from that. I love his matchup this week. It's a safe bet, I think, and with let me check on something here. Hold on. Kenneth Walker. I love Kenneth Walker, but it's just they keep going back to Charms. It's been difficult to know when we're going to start him and know when we're not. So yeah, it looks like what we're seeing is that most likely Rodgers is out this week. So Jalen Warren is a fine choice. But see, if you're looking at, he had 18 touches, 68 yards, and a touchdown last week. The touchdown kind of saved his day. Week before that, 8.7. It's not been great. So with Rudolph at the helm, it's been tough. It's been tough. I really, if Aaron Rodgers was playing, I think I'd probably go with Warren. But with no Rodgers in there, for me, it's between Kenneth Walker and Bucky Irving. So now it's like, okay, great. It's between those guys. Which one? Like I said, I think Seattle's going to be running the ball a lot. Again, it's like if you worry about the Bucky Irving thing where you're thinking, well, maybe the coach is going to, hold him back a bit. Maybe, Tucker's going to get some more, or some touches. White's going to get, they're going to go three-way. Maybe he's not going to be the hot hand first game out. I'm worried about that. Is he going to reestablish? I don't think it's going to be a problem, and I think that he's going to come back in and kill it. That's my thought on it. However, I do think that Walker is a really good choice this week. So if you want to be safe and go with Walker, yeah, I mean that's probably the safer option. But the boom bust is more of Bucky Irving. But I'm taking either of them over Jaylen Warren or Marvin Harrison this week. I guess I'm going to give. Oh man, 13 fantasy points with no touchdowns. It's not too bad. 11 carries. He's getting some targets out of the backfield there. Last couple of weeks, he has 7 targets over the last 2 weeks. 6 catches, total of 74 yards. It's really hard between Walker and Irving. Obviously, if I knew for a fact that, okay, my hunch is right, that Irving is going to get his normal workload, I that's what I think. But, we don't know at this point. And he could just, for some reason, have a bad game, and then all of a sudden Tucker blows up, and they're going to go with the hot hand. There's enough unpredictability, not too much to where I'm sitting him in most situations, but in this situation against Walker, I'm give a slight edge to Walker there because of that. That's all. Well, it's the same question. Good morning, Erica. Queen Koopa. Love it. Did you ever watch that one as a kid? Like the Mario cartoons? Of course, there's the original, the Lou Albano Mario. That was great. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Like, that was cool. But then they had like Mario 3 show, and then the Mario World show, and then that one had the Koopas in it. So whenever I see a name like that, that's what I think of. I think of Queenie, because they called her Queenie. Now, in the video game, she's Wendy O. Koopa. But in the cartoon, they call her Queenie. So when I see Queen Koopa, that's what I think. I think of Wendy O. Koopa or Queenie Koopa, the Koopa Kid. So anyway, sorry to go off that. Dart or Donald? I'm going with Dart this week. Also going to watch the Hawks game. Yay! I got a buddy. I got my nephew. My nephew's going up there with his dad to watch the game. And so, yeah. Go Vikings. But I like Darnold. I like Dart this week. You might want to see, but that's the thing is if you start Darnold and you're watching him live, hey, that's pretty cool. But I think Dart's going to have a better game this week. Jones and Knicks. 2 quarterbacks that can have great weeks and then all of a sudden shit the bed. Bo Nix has been pretty solid this year, although as of late, it's been less so. He's had a bye week. He's coming off of that. It's a great matchup. It makes me less nervous about it because, honestly, dude's been playing really well, especially in great matchups. So, but then I can say the same thing basically about Indiana Jones. The difference is he's got a pretty rough matchup this week against Houston. So leaning one way or the other, I'm going with Knicks this week. Hawkinson or Pitts, you're looking at 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And that's probably, unfortunately, literal. Or at least close to it. Hawkinson's been such a distant. It really hasn't been Hawkinson, just the Vikings offense. Sorry. The Vikings offense has been horrific. I thought JJ was going to be a dude, like JJ McCarthy was going to be a guy, like he's going to be like a top guy. But I guess I'm wrong on that. I mean, look at the last 5 weeks: 4.6, 9.1. That's okay. 2.8, 6.9, 5.9. You can't. He's had only 2 weeks this season out of 12 weeks minus the bye, so 11 weeks that he's played. He's only had 2 weeks where he's 10 plus fantasy points. That's it. That is a fantasy bust. Pitts is doing better than he is. Now, without London in there, it's not a bad shot. But then if you look at it, even without London, dude, last week had 4.5, 3.4 before that, 5.8 and 10, week 10. Week 9, 7.8. He hasn't hit over 10 fantasy points last 4 weeks. Before that, he was doing, fine and serviceable back and forth. So really, it's like I said, you're looking at 6 of one and half dozen of the other. And that is unfortunately likely to be literal. If I have to choose one, I'm going with Kyle Pitts just because with London out, I mean, they got to get the ball to him somehow, some way. I'm going with Pitts on that one. You like a Nick Sutton stack, or should I start Wandale? I do like the Nick Sutton stack. I got a feeling that Sutton's going to have a good week this week. He's due for it. I don't think he's completely dropped off. After the bye, they probably were like, okay, let's go back to, Franklin's cool, but let's go back to getting Sutton the ball. I know you love your boy Franklin, Bo, but Sutton's the guy here. Let's get it going. A lot of times after bye week, they kind of reconfigure. They go back to, a more predictable, at least from a fantasy standpoint, and at least where you start, kind of a game. The thing is, let's take a look here. Wandale Robinson. Big week last week. 14 targets, 9 receptions, 156 yards, and a touchdown. Now, of course, that was from Famous James. But we got Dart back here. And Dart and him, it's been, kind of hit and miss off and on. Kind of in the same way, it's almost like Lad McConkey. He's going to have good weeks. He's going to have bad weeks. You got a bye coming up next week, this week against New England. They're pretty good defense. Good, not I would say top elite. Good, not great. I like the Knicks and Sutton stack, though. So if I have to choose that, I'm going with that. So I'll go with the Knicks and Sutton stack and see what Wandale does. But Wandale's got pretty good, like week 15 and 17, he's got some great matchups. So if he does well this week, I'm after the bye, I'm just kind of going to leave him in the lineup. But I can see why you'd go Knicks and Sutton this week. Give the slight edge to that over just starting Wandale. We start Dart over Baker this week, and damn right we are. Here's Stoya. Jackson Dart's a revelation. He's healthy. He's back. Let's get him in there. Concussion's over. I'm sure he's learned his lesson. Don't fuck around. Fuck around, you find out in the NFL. All right? Jackson, I got you on some teams. Don't fuck around anymore. But yeah, I like Dart over Baker this week. Warren or Etienne, I love Etienne. Great matchup there. I don't think that Tutin's going to take that much away from him. I think both of them could have really good games. It's just such a good matchup. Warren's got a great matchup too, but with Mason Rudolph in there, I just don't trust that team. So I'm going to go Etienne, PPR. There you go. Scott, got some more here. Start 2, PPR, Pittman, Dortch, Rodriguez, or Waller. Pittman right off the bat. I'm going to start him. I know it's not going to be a great week necessarily against Houston, but, he could easily score a touchdown. Dortch, like I said, we're kind of moving him back since Harrison's coming back. Rodriguez is like, whatever. That's another hot hand, 3-headed monster committee, and I don't want a part of it. Darren Waller is actually a sneaky good pick. I like Pittman and Waller this week. I know, it's kind of a surprise. But Darren Waller's back, and I think that he's going to overtake Malik Washington as the number 2 target after Waddle. This is a Waddle, Achane, Waller kind of a game. So give me Darren Waller and Pittman. Charbonnet or Bucky. I like Charbs, but as long as Walker's in there, it's going to limit him. I know that Chubbs is going to limit Walker a little bit, but I'm definitely a lot more concerned about Walker's effect on Chubbs than the other way around. Love me some Chubbs. Got him in tons of dynasty leagues. I wish that Seattle would kind of just pick one or the other. I know I'm going against all your Seahawks, and you're there to watch the game, and I'm saying no, sit them all. Fucking don't enjoy your game. Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, give me Bucky this week. Totally, that's exactly right. I'm the queen of the Koopa Troopers. Yeah. All right, Queenie. Love it. It's a great show. Rams D or Browns? Oh, you really wanted to pick against my Niners? Good Lord. I mean, fucking Purdy threw 3 interceptions last week. It was terrible. Purdy's just kind of been hit and miss, really. So I mean, I can see where you'd be like, oh, let's go with the Browns. Plus, actually, Cleveland has been pretty serviceable as far as the defense goes this season. They've been really good. They've been solid. Absolutely solid. Let's pull up the Rams here. I mean, the Rams have been lesser, somewhat solid. Honestly, I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm going to start the Browns. I'm going Browns. Let me double check something though. Bear with me just a moment. We're gonna get those last questions in, and then we're heading out. So yeah, thanks for showing up, folks. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Let me know. Let me know if there's something cool that happened at your Thanksgiving, or some new meal, some new type of food or something. If you got something cool to say about your Thanksgiving, throw it out in there in the chat. We'll talk about it. I don't care. We're relaxed. We're having a good day. It's a fantasy playoff push. We're gonna kill it. So let's see. Let me look at something. Give me one moment here. Bringing up some stats so I can make a bold prediction. But yeah, like I said, so yeah, I mean it's good games, but I mean a lot of games have been solid for Cleveland. I think that's a tough one because I don't like the matchup against the Niners because at any given week, Purdy could just go off, honestly, and we don't know what Sanders is going to do if he's going to. Because people are like, oh my god, he had a big touchdown. He threw it like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and dude just ran it. Okay, it's not a great quarterback play per se. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying we don't know. Los Angeles. Take a look again, going up against Carolina. It's a good matchup. They just haven't had as big a weeks. So it's kind of like I like their matchup better for Los Angeles. So it's sort of like, okay, if you want to go with the safe bet and just make sure you're going to get some decent points, go with the Rams. If you need the home run, the possibility of there being a big defensive play, big defensive score, something like that, then I'm going to go with the Browns. If I'm leaning toward one or the other this week, I'm probably leaning toward the Rams. But that might be just my bias because I'm a Niners fan. But there you go. I mean, that's what I got for you, Alejandro. Need the bench one. Franklin versus Redskins. BTJ versus Titans. Rico versus the Rams. I think I'm going to bench Franklin this week. I just think that Nix and Sutton are going to get back in the game. I like BTJ back in there with the Titans. And Rico, even against the Rams. And, I think that Rico could get it done. So I'm sitting Franklin. I mean, Franklin could have a big game. Like I said, I just feel like it's more of a Sutton week this week. It just from the things I'm hearing about, they've got to get Sutton back in the game. And when I hear things like that, I want to start. But good morning to you, Oscar. Thank you for your contribution this week. Gadsden versus the Rangers, Strange versus Titans. Actually, both are really good matchups. If I was doing my sleepers this week, actually, Strange would be my tight end sleeper of the week. I think that he's going to be a solid play against the Titans. Gadsden versus the Raiders, though. Love me some Gadsden. Is Wilson worth the point hype with Harrison back? No, I don't think so. I think that they all kind of take away from each other, and you're looking at 10 to 15 fantasy points for the both of them. Thanks for your advice. Let's go. Yeah, hell, let's fucking go. Let's kill it this week. It's playoff push. Let's do it. Gadsden or Waller. Play both and bench either Mechie, Diggs, or Pittman. Nah. I mean, if anything, I would probably. I'm definitely going to start. I'm going to start between the two. I'm probably actually going to go Waller this week. And if I'm going to put Gadsden in, it's going to be probably for Pittman. Let me look at something real quick. It's not a bad idea. I know that. I mean, he's been a solid play. Pittman has been this season in most situations. It's a tough matchup, but even tough matchups, he's been well. I mean, the only really bad one he had against was Denver. He had kind of a shit game against Arizona, and then against Atlanta. But other than that, dude's been pretty solid. I don't know if I'm starting Gadsden over him, but I'm going Waller over Gadsden this week just because I think he's going to be the number 2 option for Miami. And when Waller's played, he's been solid. He's coming off of the bye. He's solid. He's ready to go. He's going to be in there against New Orleans. So I like Waller. It's just, am I putting Gadsden over Pittman? I don't think so. So I think kind of Gadsden's the odd guy out there. Mechie, I mean, Diggs could have a good game any given week. And I know that with the Patriots, like we joke about it, how like you can't really start many of the wide receivers because one of them's going to have a big week. But who the fuck is it going to be? Last week it was not Stephon Diggs, which makes you think this week could be. The previous weeks before that, we're looking at was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 out of the previous 8 weeks before that he had big games. So, I'm going to go with Diggs. There. Mechie, like I said, he's the top target right now, and for the Jets, as long as Garrett Wilson's out. So yeah, I'm just going to go Waller, and let's keep the rest of it as is. Good question, though, Scott. M. McCarr, 21. What's up? MHJ or Keenan Allen this week? I like MHJ. I like Marv coming back. Keenan Allen in week 2 against the Raiders scored 14.6 fantasy points, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Here's the thing. Let's look at the past 4 weeks. Okay? Last 4 weeks, Keenan Allen has had 5 targets weeks 8 through 10, and then 6 targets last week. 4 receptions, 2 receptions, 2 receptions, 4 receptions. 6.4, 5.1, 2.9, 7.3. I know you're coming off a bye. Things could be a little bit different this week. I just think we'll probably end up going to see, a combination of Gadsden, McConkey, and Johnston enough to where it's going to take away from Keenan Allen. I don't like it this week. Give me Marv. Good question, though. Scott coming back in with the Diggs, Higgins, or Dowdle, PPR. I like Diggs over Higgins. The question is, are we going to start Rico Dowdle this week? It's not ideal matchup wise. PPR. Let's pull that up. I'm getting some receptions. It's just, it's just not a great matchup, and he hasn't been killing it the last few weeks as much as he was earlier in the season. So I'm going to go Diggs. I think it's going to be a good week for Diggs. It's a great matchup, too. Reichel coming in with his last second. Reichel, as usual, last second questions, although one guy's got you beat. We'll go with that in a minute. So last couple questions here. Denver or Jacksonville? I think Rodgers is playing, but I'm tempted to start Vidal over Warren, even if Rodgers is in. From what I'm hearing, Rodgers is not going to play. He's likely not to play. It looks like it's going to be Mason Rudolph this week. So I would say, Vidal over Warren is probably a pretty good deal. And then Denver over Jacksonville, just because Denver D is so damn solid. going up against Washington and starting Mariota. I have no reason to fear that. I like Denver. It's defense. So Denver over Jacksonville, and then, yeah, let's go Vidal over Warren this week. Good question, buddy. Mr. Ibarra, thanks. Have a great day. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks as always, said Scott. We're going to get one more question here, and then we're headed out, folks. I got lineups to set too. Bucky Irvin versus BTJ as a flex. That's a good one to go out on, although we got another one coming in. I'll get you, Don. Don't worry about it. All right, Bucky Irving versus BTJ as a flex. And it's kind of like, they're both sort of in the same boat where they're injured, they come back. It's PPR that, it doesn't make too much of a difference because Bucky Irving catches passes, as you know. Again, I'm going to kind of do this thing where it's, if I'm going with solid play, I just need solid points this week. Give me Bucky Irving. If I need a hit or miss, long shot, Hail Mary, I'm going BTJ. Personally, I like to go safe and go with Bucky Irving. That's, but if you're feeling that, hot hand somehow means Bucky Irving's not going to get a lot of carries, then, worried about that, then yeah, I'm sure go BTJ. I don't think you really can go wrong with either one. I'm going to give the slight lean toward Bucky. Thanks, Johnny. And finally, unless somebody comes in at the very last second, which sometimes happens, Shakir over Dowdle. I don't know if I like that. I mean, it's a great matchup for Shakir, and he's kind of like in the same boat as a lot of those other wide receivers are talking about. Buffalo, similar to Patriots, where, yeah, someone's going to get it, but we don't know who. So the unknown makes me then want to start Rico. It's not a great matchup, but I still feel like Rico Dowdle's going to get, around 10 or so fantasy points. If he gets a touchdown, you might look out there. If you look out with the touchdown with Shakir, it's probably going to be more like that 10 to 12 fantasy points. So the bonus goes with Dowdle in that case. So, yeah, give me Dowdle over Shakir this week. All right. Hey, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in next week. I'll be here no matter what. I might win. Might be having a big birthday bash. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if people actually want to show up. But anyway, either way, I will see you next week for the Tinker Stinker Power Hour. And it's the final week of the playoff push. Got to get get all you guys who are, you're right on the cusp there. Maybe you want to improve your seed. You want to get in the playoffs. I'll see you next week. Good luck this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for showing up. One last question, says Alejandro Maya. Otten, Judy, Pierce, PPR. Not Otten. Hold on. People trying to get in last second question. I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. Houston defense is pretty good. And I just, Alec Pierce could be a good week. It's just so hit and miss. I got to go. But, I mean, with Judy, though, it's just been mostly famine. He's had one good week the entire season. Otten, I just, with Godwin coming back and everything, I kind of worry about that a little bit. I guess I'm going with Pierce. And you hope for the best. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. I'll be back next Sunday for another episode. Until then, I'm out. Peace.